Hello, my name is Julia. 안녕하세요. 제 이름은 줄리아입니다. I'm going to talk about what I've been working with Julien, the teacher at Korean Digital Academy, for a method for learning the Korean that he's teaching in that class. So, at first I thought all I needed to do was just watch the videos and open up and briefly read through the reading once, and that everything would magically download into my brain and I would learn the stuff. But, that just wasn't a really effective method. So I needed to be told how to actually use all these materials that we got with class to learn effectively. So Rob broke it down for me into day-by-day tasks. So the first day, he has me watching the videos to watch the reading, and then to take that reading. So the reading is a bunch of sentences like this. So he has me on day one take that reading and write it out by hand. And as I'm writing it out by hand, very neatly, pay attention to what I'm actually reading. And I chose to write it out in colors. And he said, as I was reading, after I've watched that vocabulary video, put boxes around the vocabulary and boxes around the grammar structures until you get to the point where you are noticing what's going on. And any questions that you have, make a list of questions, and then try to notice patterns and try to guess what's going on. So I did this for this particular class, and you can see that I'm noticing the pronouns and the particles, and I'm noticing the verbs. And so I did that, wrote it all out by hand on Monday. Then after I had done that on Monday, on Tuesday, I went and watched the rest of the KDA videos, but having done the reading before I watched the videos, which I hadn't done before, and then review the vocabulary again. So this vocabulary that on Monday we learned, I wrote it down on a whiteboard, and I put that whiteboard right up in my bathroom, so I see that every day. There's my whiteboard in the bathroom. And what I do is, right now I'm working on the class for verb conjugation. So as I visit the bathroom, I look at a verb and I conjugate it, so that I'm getting lots of practice on how to conjugate the verbs. So to understand the first time, I made myself a chart of what one particular verb was in the different honorific levels. So in this case, I'm looking at the chart that I made for Oda to come. So I figured out Oda is the unchanged form, Wa is the changed form, and then I saw it in 3 different levels in the past tense, and I also threw in future tense and other things that I know. And then on the back of this big chart, I figured out what the patterns were for the different things. So I figured out that for a adjective or a verb, in honorific tense, if it's ends in a vowel, you do it this way. If you end in a consonant, you do it that way. And if it ends in a allele, you do it something else. So I figured out all the patterns. So now I've got an understanding of how the conjugation works, and it was time to make flashcards. So before, I was just making flashcards for the vocabulary, but this time I added an extra thing. I added for each verb, I made a little chart. That's a bad example here. I made a little chart so that I could see the different levels and what the conjugation was in these different levels. And just wrote them all out. Every single verb that I had in this class, I wrote it out as a card. And then I would work on practicing these cards. I would look and say to Sal, and like, okay, I know that. And then I would conjugate it into all the different tenses that I knew Rob was going to ask in class. So by day 2, not only am I supposed to watch all the videos, but I am supposed to make a master list of the grammar structures and review the vocabulary. So something I hadn't been doing before, but that I started was, hey, you know what? I have these grammar structures. I should create flashcards for the grammar structures before. I'm not sure why this didn't occur to me before. Before, I just thought I needed to learn the words, but I actually need to learn the grammar structures, so those became flashcards as well. So now, by day 3, he walked me through how to memorize the vocabulary, how to memorize the grammar structures. And an important point is that I needed help practicing how to use the grammar structures. It wasn't enough for me to know that I could put so on the end of verbs. I had to know how to do it and have practice doing it. And slowly practice doing it until I could build it up to do sentences. I haven't reached this point where I can put in sentences yet, but I understand that I need to take it from just being, I see a grammar structure and I know what the meaning of that grammar structure is, to actually putting it into practice and applying it and using it. So the next thing that I do, so I've made it now through day 1, 2, and 3, and now the rest of the days, 4, 5, and 6, I work on practicing. Now, another thing that I didn't mention, but which we do, is everything gets said out loud. So as I write down the sentences, I say it out loud. As I work the flashcards, I say it out loud. So that it gets me speaking and it gets me used to the pronunciation. And so that when class comes, I actually can open my mouth and speak. So that's the theory of making use of the videos and the reading and the practice pages, focusing on learning it the first 3 days, and then focusing on actually putting it into practice and speaking all of it the next 3 days. Thank you so much, Rob, for helping me to figure this out.